most civilians receive training on. They've changed it now. It's no longer run, hide, fight, because
Oh
we got to
God.
change. We got to change our acronyms
Sure.
every couple of
Okay.
years
Sure
just to
enough.
make sure we're on the
What
same
is it
page.
now?
It is avoid, deny, defend. ADD.
Sure. We're the Armed Attorneys. Today it is time for Mailbag Monday. We're back with more of your questions. We're going to talk about what happened to all those free SBR stamps. Can you be a resident of more than one state such that you get to buy guns all over the place? And how many guns can you carry? But before we get started, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button. And I guess, forgive me, I just realized I did not change. I've been in my running clothes for 3 episodes now because we're filming this in the afternoon.
Yeah.
The afternoon, we never film in the afternoon.
No.
And it turns out that is all it takes for my motivation to completely go away to like change a shirt.
Well, I'm just. Oh no.
Are you dirty?
Somebody commented that the food on my shirt was disgusting.
Oh, well.
Yeah, you got it for one more episode.
Yep, sure enough. But anyway, here we are. We're alive. We're here.
All right, these are our favorite, and there's a lot of fun topics we want to talk about. All right, let's start with this is Trumpet5565. After watching several months, I don't recall this question. What are the limits for leaving firearms to someone in a last will and testament if they live in a different state? He's in Texas.
Yeah, this is an easy one. There actually is an exception built into the federal transfer laws for transferring through your estate. So, you die, your executor gets to make that transfer to whomever they're going to without having to be an FFL, without background checks. You know, you should double check that the person you're leaving your guns to can lawfully possess them.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this is
And they're legal in your state.
And they're
That's,
legal
that's
in
the
that
other issue
state,
you
yeah.
run into.
But this is one of those times where the federal government has made it easy.
What?
I know. But so, yeah, I mean, you can just like, generally, people generally just do a hand-to-hand transfer and then drive them around.
Sure.
Totally acceptable. No problems.
So, and the reason this comes up is because they think, all right, I'm a resident of a different state. I can't transfer these firearms without going through an FFL. This kind of gets rid of that FFL requirement. So it makes things a little bit simpler.
It's perfect. Again, the federal government rarely does this to us. So I guess I'll be grateful.
The federal government keeps happening to me.
I know, right? God bless. All right, so we've got at @UStreamer1234. Can you talk about witness rights? Suppose there's a crime at your neighbor's house. Do you have the right to remain silent or ignore law enforcement if they knock at your front door? Do you have the right to call your lawyer before giving a witness statement? Are you required to hand over or preserve your security camera footage? I love this.
Yeah, so, as far as witness rights goes, I don't have a lot of favorable news to report.
Well, true, but also, I mean, you get to you get to be obstinate.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you say go pound sand, copper? Absolutely. Nobody talks, everybody walks. You like that one. But generally, and what I'm thinking about is, hey, can the police compel you to talk? No. Maybe a court could, though, at trial. Can they get a warrant for these things, video cameras, whatnot? Yes, if they think, if they can convince a court, I think that there's evidence on these cameras, and here's why I think there's evidence on these cameras. Can they go get a warrant? But as far as just general cooperation with the police, you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, but Richard's right. You don't have rights, right? You are not incriminated, so you don't get any Fifth Amendment rights. You are not incriminated, so you don't get the right to an attorney. You don't have to be cooperative with them. And, use your best judgment, decide whether or not you want to be cooperative. Obviously, if there's a big crime spree in your neighborhood and you want to not get crimed, you should probably be as helpful as possible versus, I don't know, the local PDs screwing around with people for something stupid.
Sure.
I'm probably not going to be that cooperative, but I will say you never have to answer your door. Never. So if you are uncomfortable with the idea of even speaking to them in such a situation, don't answer the door.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
If the police have a right to, air quotes here, to enter your house, guess what? They're going to do it.
Yeah. So, but Richard's right. So it really is it's a right-less situation, but it is one in which they can't do that much to you for being obstinate.
No.
Well, give them that.
All right, next one we have is my 3N, my 4. Richard and Emily, a question about pistol braces, the free SBR tax stamp issue. Am I correct in remembering that at the time that if a person got a free tax stamp during the amnesty by registering their pistol, they could switch the pistol brace to a regular rifle stock? Has anything changed in that time?
I actually talked to someone about this yesterday. Yes, so you will recall back to what, the year of our Lord 2023?
Yeah, June, I think.
My gosh. You got your free tax stamp because all of the sudden the thing that you owned that was legal yesterday became an SBR, and that was your braced pistol. And so the government says, we're doing you a favor. We're taking something away from you unless you register it with us, but we're not going to make you pay the $200 to register it.
Sure.
So it was ridiculous for a number of reasons. So we've got that issue. Lots of people did it. My household did it. But then we had that rule not only challenged and enjoined, but vacated from the Code of Federal Regulations. There's no more tax stamp rule on SBRs. But that leaves us in this world where people are like, hey, I have this free tax stamp, not a physical tax stamp anymore, because why would they keep it easy the way that it used to be? But I have this electronic hypothetical tax stamp from the government. So does that mean that the thing I own is an SBR? Like such that I could take the brace off, put a stock on it, and it's an SBR, such that, this was the question yesterday, I could put a vertical foregrip on it because it's a rifle, or is it a pistol? And the answer is,
I don't know. I don't know. The federal government hasn't given us any guidance on this, and we don't have any precedent to rely on or case studies to say, hey, guess what? This is going to happen to you should you find yourself in this circumstances. So yeah,
we're living in unprecedented times.
so that vacatur, it got rid of this, and really what we're talking about is these brace pistols. The brace was considered a stock. We got rid of that rule, and so we went back to this factoring criteria and stabilizing braces rule, and so. All right, this thing isn't considered a stock anymore.
Right.
But we look at, and I want to back up because I think there was another question buried in here that I wanted to address. These folks who did, they got a free tax stamp through this amnesty period. They were saying, all right, you can put your brace back on this thing. It's an SBR, but it's registered now. At the time we were advising folks, hey, guess what? You could get rid of that brace and put on a traditional stock. This thing's an SBR as long as it meets the same characteristics and all that other stuff.
SBR is an SBR.
Right. And so, with this rule being vacated, what happens to all these free tax stamps?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Well, yeah, because imagine that I had a Form 1 in my hot little hands, and I was like, I'm gonna build this thing. It's a short barrel rifle, and the specs are not a short barrel rifle. Well, they're not just gonna give me a tax stamp for a full length rifle that I want to build. They're gonna say, what you've proposed isn't an SBR. You don't get a tax stamp. So, again, the thing I'm holding in my hands is not an SBR. We know that because there's no rule that says it's an SBR, and we have those old opinions that are our current guidance. Like if I just took a Form 1 now, I don't think they'd give me a tax stamp.
No,
right? So,
with the
so
brace.
what happens with the brace, right? So what happens to the tax stamp that you already have? Is it good or is it not good? And I think that because we have zero idea, I would assume the conservative legal advice is you don't got no tax stamp. It's in the wind, right? Do not assume you have a tax stamp.
Yeah, and the things going for it being a tax stamp are, all right, theoretically, the person will be charged with possession of an unregistered short barrel rifle. You got your registration here. If they're going to say, oh, this whole rule got vacated. There's some ambiguity around this to where, hey, are you really going to go after people for breaking this law? I don't see it happening. And I bet somebody knows
Not right now.
I bet somebody in the ATF has specialized knowledge about how they're treating these things and all what. We just don't have any court cases or anything to point to folks to say, hey, guess what? We got some black and white on this and we know exactly what to tell you. Just be careful.
Just be careful. All right. This is at, oh my God, PFE Rocks the Skeeter Guy. the best I can do with that. Oh, wow. I have a bunch of questions, but I'll start with this one. Pertaining to the state of Texas, can you carry a backup weapon? Like, for example, a 5-shot revolver on one side and another one on the other side. Richard.
Texas, no. I mean, we don't place any types of restrictions on the number of firearms a person carries. The one thing, kind of keep in the back of your mind, just can't carry firearms in a manner calculated to alarm, whether they're handguns, long guns, or whatnot. I'm only aware, there might be more. The only state I'm aware of where they criminalize carrying more than one weapon on your person, is that New Mexico?
New Mexico.
Yeah, and there might be more out there. I just happen to know that one off the top of my head. Texas, it's fine.
Texas, it's fine. You strap on as many firearms as you can without it pulling your pants down, and then you're committing indecent exposure. Don't do that.
We had a client who had 5 firearms on his person when he was arrested.
That he did?
Yeah, and he was a big old guy, and he had Glock 19s on each ankle.
Ankles. Those were his ankle guns.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
All right, next one I got at DD Golfer II 1564. What liability do I have, if any, in a self-defense situation, and I do not draw and fire? For example, in a mass, such as a mall, theater, restaurant, or church, where others do engage. So this is is there an affirmative duty placed on folks who are carrying to engage, defend, and if they don't, hey, they're falling below their duty of care, such that it would give rise to liability?
Right. Generally speaking, where you have posed this question, the answer is no. If you choose not to engage, which there could be lots of reasons for that, you could be there with your own family you're trying to protect. You could be in a place that is very, very unsafe for you to try to engage. You could just discover that when push comes to shove, your natural fear reaction is either flight or freeze, right? You can't control that. I mean, I guess you can try to train that out of yourself, but
Yeah, and I'll say, most civilians receive training on, they've changed it now. It's no longer run, hide, fight. Because we got to change our acronyms every couple of years just to make sure we're on the same page.
What is it now?
It is avoid, deny, defend. ADD.
Sure.
So, but most folks receive, that's, if they're getting training on this stuff, that's what they're taught. So just talking about an ordinary person in one of these venues, do you have an affirmative duty imposed on you to intervene? The answer is no. Folks with special duties, hey, do these security guards have to engage? Do these, let's say, even police officers? The courts have said generally no, even for these guys who hold special duties. Now, does that mean the theater is not going to get sued? And is the security guard firm going to not get dragged into it? No, everybody gets sued. That's how it works. But at the end of the day, do I see these folks writing checks? No.
No. Yeah, if you're just Joe Blow randomly there when one of these things breaks out and you don't intervene, there should not be any consequence to you. And frankly, the statistics, not to encourage, cowardice, I suppose here, but the statistics do bear out that if you want to live, you run, in fact, away from the pack and in a zigzag, right? That's how you survive. So, if your number one priority is, I got to live, as opposed to, oh my gosh, my moral compass and my conscience if I don't do something to help.
Yeah, don't come here for that.
Don't go to lawyers for that. Yeah, run away from the pack and run in a weird pattern, and you're probably going to be okay. Okay, and finally at 8 in Guy 1948, how is the barbecue in Houston? Every city in the South thinks they have the best barbecue.
Yeah, Houston is mega city, so there's a lot of barbecue options. I'll say generally very good.
Yes, Houston is an interesting fusion city of foods and tastes and concepts. We actually have, obviously we have a big Hispanic population because we're Texas, and we also have a gigantic Vietnamese population.
Yep, Vietnamese.
That's right. And so I think the Houston barbecue is great, especially if you get something a little bit out of the what you would consider the beaten path, because you get these other kind of cultural influences infused into your barbecue sometimes, and it is just.
And I'll say the one thing that I like, I like the Papa's Delta Blue, but only their
Papa's are an institution.
Brisket boudin sausage, so that's like Cajun barbecue. It's pretty stinking good.
We've got that Killen's here too.
Yeah, Killen's always fantastic.
Yeah. There are lots of reasons to come visit the great city of Houston. You could definitely put food on your list, and go find some barbecue too. I lived in Nashville for a while, and everyone's like, "Oh, Memphis barbecue."
It was
Like,
fine.
it's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Houston rivals Memphis for sure. So yeah, come on down.
Yeah, but when you visit,
Eat here.
also carry.
And carry. Yeah, we very much encourage that. We got lots of freedom here. We got enough freedom to go around.
Yeah, but we hope you enjoy this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please, if you have other questions, leave them on this video. This is where we search for our Monday mailbag questions. So give us a shout here. We'll try to answer your question. Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.